Your friend covers your rent the month everything collapsed. You thanked them. But the moment they left, you felt smaller. Not grateful. Smaller. Why does that happen? I've spent years watching how people respond when someone genuinely helps them. Not the thank you. Not the surface. The thing underneath. The quiet tightening. The invisible calculation. The strange reflex to immediately prove you didn't need the help at all. Here's what I've found. That reaction isn't random. It's structural. It points directly to something inside you. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. By the end of this video, I'll show you exactly what that reaction is, where it's built, and a framework that permanently changes how you carry help. Starting today. If you leave before the 3-minute mark, you'll miss the part that breaks this open entirely. Here's a scenario most people have lived and never said out loud. A friend calls in a real favor. Maybe they got you into a room, a job interview you had no business being in. Maybe they covered your rent the month the floor gave way. Maybe they showed up at 2 a.m. when you were at the bottom, and they stayed. And you're grateful. Genuinely grateful. But underneath that gratitude, something else moves. Something quieter and harder to name. A low discomfort. Almost like you handed a piece of yourself over in that exchange, and you don't know how to recover it. So you do one of two things. You shrink. You become over-apologetic. You make yourself smaller around this person, mentioning the favor constantly, as if obsessing over the debt proves you're worth the investment. You pre-apologize for your own presence. Or you inflate. You quietly rewrite the story. Tell yourself you would have gotten there anyway. The help just accelerated the inevitable. Piece by piece, you minimize what they gave you until the debt conveniently dissolves. Neither response is gratitude. And here's what I've realized after watching this pattern repeatedly. Both responses come from the exact same wound. I've noticed something consistent in people who carry real strength quietly. Not the loud kind, the kind people perform at volume. The kind that holds steady when things go wrong, when the pressure is real and nobody's watching. These people share a specific relationship with their own capabilities. Think of a master carpenter who builds extraordinary furniture. He knows, completely without needing to announce it, that he's skilled. But he doesn't confuse the skill for the whole person. The skill is a tool in the workshop, not the workshop itself. That separation between what you do and what you are is the load-bearing wall of emotional stability. Pull it out, and the whole structure shifts. I call this the stable center. When your identity isn't stored in your achievements, when your sense of worth isn't balanced on top of your performance, strange things become possible. You can absorb a real hit without crumbling. You can receive real help without feeling diminished. Because if your value isn't measured in what you can do, then someone doing something for you doesn't subtract from your balance. It doesn't reach your core at all. But here's the part nobody explains. The part most conversations about strength completely skip. How do you actually build that? Where does it start? Here's where almost every conversation about strength gets it wrong. And I mean fundamentally, structurally wrong. Most people believe stability requires resistance. That you push back against external force to stay upright. Fight the wave. Brace against the impact. Hold the line. But that's not how a gyroscope works. And the difference matters more than you think. A gyroscope doesn't fight the wave. It maintains its own internal orientation, regardless of what the ocean does. The ship tilts hard. The gyroscope keeps spinning from its own center. The chaos outside is real, but it passes over something that isn't organized around responding to it. That's the internal posture I've watched in people who handle help and hardship differently than most. It isn't coldness. It isn't detachment or distance. It's a stable center that doesn't tip when something external pushes on it. And here's the pattern. Once you can see it clearly, people with this stability don't experience gratitude as a threat. When someone helps them, they don't scramble to re-establish power in the relationship. They don't turn the moment into a referendum on their worth. They receive the help, fully, cleanly, and then they carry it forward without dragging the debt behind them. This is the rarest behavior I've observed across years of watching people under pressure. Not ambition, not intelligence, not resilience in the conventional sense. The capacity to receive help without it costing you something inside. That capacity, that specific ability, is what the stable center actually means. And most people go their entire lives without building it. Let me make this concrete. Your mentor writes you a recommendation letter, a genuinely glowing one, that places you at a table you couldn't have reached alone. The door opens because of what they said about you. The unstable response has two flavors, and they look completely different from the outside. Flavor 1, I don't deserve this. You spend the first 6 months pre-apologizing for your presence, reminding people how you got the seat, shrinking before anyone even questions you. Flavor 2, I would have gotten here eventually. You quietly rewrite the story, minimize your mentor's role in your own memory, until the debt dissolves on its own. The stable response is harder than both, and simpler than either. You say a direct thank you. Once, without qualifiers. You acknowledge the gift fully, without flinching from how significant it was. Then you carry it forward with competence. No performance of humility, no defensive pride, no narrative revision. That's the entire move. But it demands something most of us were never taught. The ability to let a moment of receiving not mean something terrible about who you are. Here's what keeps people stuck, and why the pattern repeats. First mistake, confusing humility with self-erasure. Saying I'm so sorry to be a burden isn't humble. It redirects the moment toward your discomfort instead of their generosity. Real humility runs quieter than that. Second mistake, treating gratitude as a one-time performance instead of an ongoing orientation. People say thank you and then spend months unconsciously resenting the person who helped them. Why? Because every time they see that person, the debt surfaces again. The gyroscope never got set. The center never stabilized. Third mistake, and this is the one psychology keeps confirming across context after context, tying your self-worth directly to your self-sufficiency. When being capable is the foundation of your identity, needing help registers as structural damage, not inconvenience damage. The stable center isn't built by achieving more. It isn't earned through performance. It's built by slowly untying your identity from the scoreboard, one moment of clean receiving at a time. Here's your experiment for this week. When someone does something meaningful for you, scale doesn't matter. Thank them directly once, without qualifying it, softening it, or immediately pivoting to how you'll repay it. No, I'm sorry to be a burden. No, I would have figured it out. No deflection. No performance. Receive it cleanly, then pay attention to what happens in your body in that moment. That discomfort you feel, that's your gyroscope finding its center. Here's the through line I want you to carry out of this. The quiet strength nobody talks about isn't the strength to never need help. That's not strength. That's isolation dressed as independence. And it costs you far more than you know. The real thing is rarer. It's the capacity to be helped, fully, without drama, and come out the other side with your center intact, not because nothing touched you, but because what touched you passed through something stable. The master carpenter's skill doesn't define him. The ship doesn't fight the wave. The gyroscope spins from its own center. That's the stable center, and it's available right now, not after the next achievement, not after you've earned it, right now. If this framework landed, subscribe. One of these every week. Frameworks built from observation, not inspiration. The people who seem unshakable aren't the ones nothing touches. They're the ones who built something inside that doesn't ask the world's permission to stay upright.